Hey everybody, I'm going to show you how to set up MotionEyeOS using a Raspberry Pi Zero W and how to assemble the case I designed that will allow you to stick it to Windows that has some adjustability so you can monitor your house, fish tank, anything that has glass. And we'll go through the whole process and get you up and running, because when I first did it I struggled a bit, but hopefully this will help clear things up a little bit. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is open our web browser. I already assume that you have a micro SD card, your Pi Zero W. Put your micro SD card in your computer. I have a 16 gigabyte one, seems to be plenty for what I want to do. First thing we're going to do is do a quick search for MotionEyeOS. Okay, and here's the website. If you scroll down to getting started, go to supported devices and look for Pi Zero W models right here. So let's go latest version, and it's downloading. Okay, that's done. Also, what you're going to need is you're going to need a program called Etcher. Etcher right here. I already have it downloaded, but you can download it now. This is going to take the file and put it onto your SD card and extract it. So once you have it installed, we're going to go load Etcher. Okay, so here's Etcher. We'll select the image that we just downloaded. MotionEyeOS Raspberry Pi today. Okay, and we're going to flash the card. Hit yes. And it will now go ahead and expand this program to the SD card. This could take a couple minutes, so we'll come back when it's done. Okay, next you're going to need a program called Notepad++. Right here. And you're going to download whichever version you need right here. Get that installed. And once you install it, you're going to have this. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file and go under Edit, End of Line Conversion, set it for Unix. And I'll take this. Okay. And what we're doing now is, because you can't directly connect to your Raspberry Pi Zero, because you don't have you'd have to connect the keyboard and all that fun stuff. You can get it connected directly to your Wi-Fi in your house by adding this file. You have to add the file immediately to your SD card before you boot up the first time. This is where I made my mistake. If you change this file after you booted the first time, it will not read it again. So you have to go back in to Etcher, reflash the card, put this file in, and do it again. It only reads it the first time you boot this up. I was trying to change things and reboot without reflashing it. So do it once, do it right. If you don't, you have to go start over by reflashing the card. Okay. So here's what you need to put in. Your country, whatever country you happen to be in. Copy these. SSID, put in your SSID of your Wi-Fi between the quotations. Leave the quotes. Put in your password for your Wi-Fi in here. Assuming most people have the same standard Wi-Fi. And once you do that, you're going to do File, Save As, and you're going to, on the SD card, you're going to call it WPA_supplicant.conf and save it to that file. Once you do that, we should be ready to test the Raspberry Pi Zero W to see if it connects to your Wi-Fi. So on the SD card, you should have the files for MotionEyeOS, but you should also now have an WPA_supplicant.config on there. It's very important. So now we're going to take the SD card, put it into our Raspberry Pi Zero W, and use a USB power supply to power it up and see if it shows up. Remember, on the Pi Zero, the power USB port is the top one, and USB is the bottom, so you want to plug into the top one. Let's see what happens. Okay, before we boot up, we want to make sure we attach the webcam. So this is a short webcam cable I found on Amazon. Sorry for the focus here, guys. I'll link it down below so you can order it. It comes in a pack of two, one with a long one with a short one. This is the shortest one I could find that you didn't have to go buy a kit or something like that. You could just buy them. I think it was like 10 bucks or something. You need something relatively short. For reference, this is 73 millimeters long. So anything 73 and shorter should work just fine. So we're going to go in here. You take your slider here and pull it out gently. Your connectors are on the bottom. So your silver connectors here you want to face downward and put that into your Pi0W. Once you've done that, go ahead and click the clamp closed. Nice alliteration. Okay. Same thing on the other side. You got your Pi cam. Okay. Make sure your clamp is open. Your contacts are on the bottom, so you want to make sure that your silver contacts here face the bottom of the card. Put it in and push the clamp closed. There we go. There we go. Now that you have that connected, now we can power it up and see if it connects to Wi-Fi. Okay, once you've had it boot up, go into your Wi-Fi settings for your particular router and go look under your devices that are attached. Under here, I see a Raspberry Pi Foundation at .80. The only reason I know it's not either one of these other ones is because I have set these IP addresses so I know these are other cameras in my house. 80 is a new number. So 192.168.1.80, we're going to go up here and type that in, assuming you're on your home Wi-Fi. 1.80, enter. And here we are inside the camera settings. Let me flip this over. Now this camera I have on here happens to be a no IR camera, so forgive the color, but there you go. So that's working. So what we're going to do now, okay, let's go under, let's see, am I already logged in? Yeah, I believe first login is admin, nope, sorry, admin and blank. There you go. So now you get all the tools. Go under here. So what you want to do so that you can log in outside your home network, you want to give this a password. Okay, you're going to do that. And we're going to, so video device, you can give it a name. So this one is going to be street for me. Turn on advanced settings. You need to set your password so that if you're viewing this from outside the network, they have to put in a password so people aren't viewing your camera. It's smart to put in a password there. Put in your time zone, in my case, Eastern. Okay, go down. Let's see, so you got all kinds of settings here. So there's your SSID and your password. And under here we can do static IP. This is where I set them so that I know exactly what IP address they're on. I know I've used 101, 102. We're going to make this one 103. Okay. Let's see, services. You can do FTP servers. That's fine. Expert settings. I don't use that. So street. Automatic brightness is sometimes good. You can set this now. Because it's a Pi0W, it has a slower processor. So the higher resolution you go, the less frames per second you're going to get. I found that 720 is pretty good. If you need faster, probably need to use a Pi 3 instead of a Pi 0, but for monitoring, a few frames a second is more than enough. We'll have to check the rotation once we assemble the rest of this. Let's see, file storage, yep. Let's see, text overlay, you can put on words and all that. Video streaming, I usually stream at a lower quality for speed purposes. Streaming port is fine. Authentication mode disabled. We may have to come back to that. And then we go down here to movies. It's storing them. I have them stored for a week and then get rid of them. Motion triggered. Go down here, motion detection, and this is where you got to play with it. So change threshold. You'll have to figure out what it takes to activate it, how sensitive you want it to be. motion gap, so how long between each one, how many frames before and frames after, minimum motion frames. These are all sensitivity settings you're going to have to play with. And they should say longest, maximum movie length. So if you want to keep it from recording continuously, I set a limit on that. And you can set the work schedule, how often you want it to monitor. So we'll apply that. It's going to have to reboot. The board has rebooted. Note that I now have 192.168.1.103. And now that brings it up. So now I have a static IP. It's always going to come up at this address. Now, what if we want to add multiple cameras? Well, what I recommend is you have a server, per se, that's a Raspberry Pi 3 that's going to handle all your video. So you're going to do the exact same process that we just did, except you're going to download the file for the Raspberry Pi 3 and go in and run your commands. Everything we did the same. The difference is with the Raspberry Pi 3, it has a wired network port. I highly recommend you go and use the wired network port and wire it into your router so that for the first time you boot up, you can find the IP address. You don't have to set up the Wi-Fi. When you first boot the Raspberry Pi 3, I gotta log back in under my preferences. You gotta be under admin to get all the good stuff. So go under here, and under the Raspberry Pi 3, if you connect via a hardwire, you'll go into that IP address that the hardwire is on, and under network, this will be blank. Okay, so you will have to go in and put in your Wi-Fi and password, and then you can then the next time you reboot, it will connect via Wi-Fi, and you can disconnect the hardwire on the Raspberry Pi 3. In my case, I've already done that and set it for 102. So we go there. Ooh. Okay, so I've already got one camera here. I've disconnected some cameras. So let's add a camera. So we go on, now I'm in my Raspberry Pi 3. I'm going to here, add camera, remote motion eye, and we're going to add the IP address of the Raspberry Pi 0, which is 103 for me, and then :80. And if you got a password, put that in. There's street, it comes up. Hit OK. There's my camera. So you can go and mess with all these cameras inside the Raspberry Pi 3 instead of going into each IP address. This is your master control. So there you go. So now you can go to this IP address inside your home network, and you can view all your cameras. What if we want to view them outside the home network? Well, we need to port forward. So let's do that. Okay, so inside your Wi-Fi network, you need to find the port forwarding, port triggering area. And I've already done it, but what you do is do your server IP address, call it whatever service name you want, do 192.168.1. And in my case, my main Raspberry Pi 3 is .102. If you only have one Pi 0, put in whatever your IP address of that Pi 0 is. Then add it, go under here, edit service, and I need to go into my router, and under here TCP UDP, and what we're going to do is we're going to set port 80 as the external port, and the internal port is port 80. Port 80 has the entire web window that you can control things from outside your home network. Okay, and you're going to apply that. So I'm not going to show you my external IP address for obvious reasons, but the process is simple. Go to Google, type in what's my IP address, and it will give you a long IP address. It will not be 192.168, it'll be some other random number. Key being here is because we port forwarded to port 80, if you type into any browser, whether it's on your phone or your computer, if you're outside the home network, if you type in that long IP address, :80, because we forwarded port 80, you should be able to see your webcams and the menus from outside the home network. Please make sure if you do this, you set a password, because if somebody can find your IP address and you leave it as admin blank, People can come get into your webcams and watch your webcams from outside the home network, and they're not you. So it's a safety thing. So make sure you set a password. So now that we got that up and running, let's put together the 3D print. I'll show you how to do that so that you can get it and put it on Windows or wherever you want to put it. Okay guys, once again, sorry for the resolution, but here's what you're going to need to do. You're going to have your Pi Zero that you've already set up and proven that it works. You're going to have 4 3D prints. You're going to have a clip. You're going to have a pivot. You're going to have the cover. And you're going to have the case. Okay. Also what you're going to need is you're going to need suction cups. I got these from Hobby Lobby. I can probably put a link down below of the exact ones I got. But for those, so these come with hooks on them. We're going to remove the hooks. I'll give you the dimensions here. So basically what you need any suction cup that has a diameter of about 5.5 on the inside and a height of the inside slot of about 3 millimeters. Okay, so the part that we're going to press into is 5.5 by 3. I'll put in a link so you can get the exact ones online if you want to, but if you have some laying around that work, so be it. The outside diameter of the suction cup is roughly, it's a 30 millimeter suction cup. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our case, and this slot here is going to face our power port. So go ahead and put your Pi Zero down in the bottom. I've got pins in the bottom that will sit in. Now, if your 3D printer can't make the pins small enough, you can go take a drill bit and drill out the 4 corner holes in your Pi Zero just a little bit bigger to make them fit. There's that gold area around each one of the pins is a keep out area. You can drill into it, nothing's going to happen. So you can go ahead and make those bigger if you need to. Same for the Pi Cam. The Pi Cam has 4 holes and I have pins for it. If for some reason your printer can't make the pins the right size, go ahead and drill those out just a little bit bigger to make them fit. So once it's on the pins below, your power port should line up nicely. Then we're going to take our pivot and we're going to orient it this way. So the coupler here faces this direction. We're going to put our pivot on. There's 4 pins. So those sit just like that. Okay, once we put it on the pivot, we take our clip, okay, right here, and the clip goes on the side opposite the arm, and you should be able to press that on. You may want to use a flexible material like PETG or ABS. There we go. Okay, so the clip, let's see if it'll focus. Yep. The clip sits right there. Boy, that's bad. There we go. Push it on so it's flush. The idea here is that once it's in the housing will keep this clip from sliding off, but it holds the camera to the pivot. Drop the pivot into the slot down below. Okay, and you should be able to pivot it in there. If it doesn't pivot right, go ahead and take a razor blade and make sure that your shafts on both sides are round. Okay. And what we're going to do is take the camera case, and the side with the little tab goes towards the side with the arm, and that's your upper stop. Also, the one with the slot on the side here goes into this slot on top to help capture the shaft. So take the cover, and the slot. The tab here on top of the cover should be on the side with the arm. Press the arm. Press the arm. Make sure everything snaps together. There you go. So now you should be able to move the arm back and forth. You get upper or lower stops. You take the suction cups. Go ahead and press those up into this hole. Just rotate them in. There you go. So here we go. Here's your mount. Remember, if the picture is oriented the wrong direction, there is a setting under your video settings in MotionEyeOS to rotate the image. So go ahead and do that, and now you've got a camera that you can monitor from anywhere in the world. You can set up 12 of these if you want to. I don't know if a Raspberry Pi 3 would handle 12 of them, but the point is you can put a bunch of cameras together and monitor your entire house if you want to. Hope you enjoyed the project. If you got any questions, ask them below or find me online. I also will be uploading a version of this that instead of suction cups, it will have screw holes, so wood screws, so you can mount this onto a wall in your garage permanently, per se. So you can use either option. So hope you had fun. I think it's a great project. I'm really excited about this. Stay tuned for the next project. Okay, using the wall mount box, we'll now use some number 10 screws, wood screws, to screw it into the stud. There we go. Now we just need the plug. There we go. We're powered up. Let's see what we get. Okay, now we have a video of the garage. Let's make sure that we can tell. There you go. I've also turned down the frames per second, so it takes less data that way. And then, so now I'll be able to tell whether the garage is open or closed when I'm away from home.